Welcome back to another episode of The Halal Gap. My name is Sikandar and I'm your co-host for today alongside
Sofia Alani, the other co-host for today.
And as always, we're joined by the magician behind the mixer, Hamada. How's it going?
Not too bad.
Amazing. All right, let's get this episode started.
So, Saagar Shaikh is a Pakistani-American actor, comedian, and producer based in Los Angeles. He graduated from business school from the University of Texas at San Antonio and then never got a job. You can see him on the web series Unfair and Ugly, as a producer and co-host on the podcast The Bollywood Boys, and as a cast member of the super-duper mega box office mind-blasting hit show currently running at UCB, The Get Brown. Saagar was recently cast in and performed in the 2019 ABC Showcase. Joining us live from LA, please welcome Saagar Shaikh.
Hey! That was good. Did you just make all that up?
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah, that was great.
On the fly.
Thank you, friend.
You should be an improviser.
Man, you're not the first one to tell me that. So, what have you been up to in the quarantine times?
Oh man, times are rough. Times are rough right now. I've been trying to keep myself busy. Been failing miserably at that. Every Sunday I've been taking a screenwriting class, and that's like the busiest of my weeks. I'll admit the nerdiest thing I've been doing is, have you guys ever heard of this game called Secret Hitler?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sikandar's obsessed. Sorry, Siko. Siko's obsessed.
Yeah, who's Sikandar?
What? Who's that guy?
Yeah. So I have been playing Secret Hitler online with like strangers.
Wait. Is this like a video game, or are you guys like all on Zoom playing off of different boards in your living rooms?
No. It's an online like board.
Okay.
Like it's secrethitler.io, and it's the nerdiest thing I've ever done in my life.
I think we one-upped you. As like a board for the Mosquers, we created our own Mafia game in Slack. Like we created different channels for different people. Oh yeah, we went all out, man. We didn't even use.
You're a nerd.
Oh yeah. This just started like a couple weeks ago, and we did one day. You know how in Mafia, like every day is like one round. But like you just close your eyes for 10 seconds and then it's the next day. No, we did it every day was like a brand new day. So like the game took like a week each time.
That's insane. That's wild.
It was so stressful.
But other than that, I've been trying to do some writing. I've been trying to, I borrowed a guitar from a friend. So I've been trying to learn how to play the guitar. That's one thing I want to take out of, I want to get out of this quarantine. Is by the end of it, I want to know how to play the guitar. Nice. I don't think that's a lot to ask for, God. So come on.
That's a good tangible goal, you know? I don't know. Yeah. I feel like people can either take this as like, I'm just gonna do nothing and watch all of Netflix, or like learn a skill. Guitar playing is a great skill.
Okay, that's an achievement.
I have been doing all of those things.
Those are
watching a lot of Netflix. I've been getting a lot of screen time. I've been playing Ludo on my phone.
Ooh, okay.
Nice.
So yeah, Ludo, Secret Hitler, Netflix, and guitar.
Nice. That's a good combo.
Yeah, it's been great.
That'll keep somebody busy for sure. That's at least another month to 2 months worth of quarantine time, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready.
You're good. You're locked in. That's good. So, Saagar, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your journey. Tell us about how you went from pursuing a business degree in Texas to moving to LA and pursuing a career in Hollywood. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah. So when I was like 13, almost 14, my family moved from Houston, Texas to San Antonio, Texas. And so when I started high school, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends. I went from one ginormously diverse city to like the north side of a city that was basically full of white people, right? So I was like the only brown kid in school. It was like really weird, right? And I had no drive. I had no motivation. It was really depressing. I started like just skateboarding and riding my bikes, just like all the white people around me were doing. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do for college, because where I was going to school in San Antonio, the friends that I was hanging out with, none of them really cared about education. And I kind of just fell into that, right? So I still lived in a brown household, in a Desi household, and so that wasn't an option for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. All right, so I was going to school, and my dad was like, "Nee, tum business karoge," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure, that's cool, I guess." So I started taking my business classes or whatever, and then my junior year is when I started thinking about, and in high school I took some theater classes. My junior year of college, I started thinking, like, what if I actually took acting seriously? What if, like, I dropped all of this? What if I, instead of not knowing what I wanted to do, I knew what I wanted to do, but it wasn't a thing that my parents were expecting me to want to do? What would happen then? I started kind of just doing research on, like, how I can get started while I'm still doing what I'm doing. How to get an agent, how to start going on auditions, whatever. And at this time, in your junior year of college, you're also kind of looking for an internship at this time. So I was also simultaneously doing that. And I went through the student advisory board to help me look for an internship. And there was this place that I applied to, and I honestly couldn't give a shit about where I got hired. I did not care about where I was interning. I didn't care about school, like, at all. But I found there was this place called Calliope Management that I was like, all right, yeah, I'll apply here too, right? And then so they called me in for an interview, and I went in, and it turns out I went in and I started seeing, like, headshots everywhere, and I was like, what the fuck is this place? And it turns out this place was a talent management company in San Antonio, like a small talent management firm. So then I interviewed, and I was like, yeah, that's so crazy, because I literally weeks ago was, like, thinking about how can I become an actor. And so they ended up hiring me, and then they signed me on as talent too. So then they started sending me on auditions, and then I started getting.
Pause. You can't just move on from that. How do you go in for one type of an interview, and then all of a sudden you're scouted for talent? What was that interview process like?
Well, like, now, like, in hindsight, it's 2020. They would have hired anybody that walked into that door, I think. but I was an intern at a talent management firm. And because I was an intern, they signed me on as a talent, and hooked me up with a bunch of classes and headshots and whatnot. And that place is now shut down. The woman who owned that company, she's a big scammer. But the work that she was doing was legit. She was just taking a lot of money, more money than she was supposed to, from her talent, and, like, forcing her talent to pay her more than they were supposed to.
Got it.
Legally.
Okay.
And so
moving on from that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was your first. Okay.
That was my intro to this industry. So then I was with them for 2.5 years. I graduated from college while I was still there. And
what does like an intern do at a talent agency? Is it like in Entourage where you've got, Ari's guy who's just, like, running around doing menial tasks? Or what?
That's what the agent wanted it to be like.
Okay.
But, like, by no means.
Lloyd, that's his name. I was
Lloyd, yeah. By no means should it have been that way, because San Antonio is, for being the 7th largest city in the U.S., it's a small town, and it's. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna say this is my hot take. I like to do a series called Hot Take Shake, and my hot take on San Antonio is one of the most talentless cities in the U.S.
Whoa.
Wow, that's some serious shade.
Our 3 San Antonio listeners are really pissed off right
now.
Yeah. And I do believe that if someone has talent in San Antonio, the moment they realize they have talent, they need to leave the city. in order to flourish. They cannot stay in San Antonio.
We are going to get into that because I feel very differently about that so brain drain is like something that we have to struggle with here in Edmonton too, right? Because it is a big, small city, which I think is what you're kind of getting a sense of from San Antonio too.
Yeah.
Why do you think? Is that kind of a general consensus you think, or is that something that you just have noticed that people have left once they've reached a certain level of talent in San Antonio, or what?
I think being an outsider looking on the inside now, I think that. But I know for sure that people living in San Antonio will disagree with me because my family still lives there and they strongly disagree with me.
Fair enough.
But I feel strongly that if you want to thrive, you need to leave San Antonio.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, what was that?
I've never been to San Antonio, so I'm not defending it in any way.
San Antonio is a nice city to go to on a Friday and leave on a Sunday. That's it.
Yeah, gotcha. That's a good description. Austin is cooler, and Houston is sweet. Also, I really like Houston.
Austin's amazing. Houston has amazing food. Dallas is the Florida of Texas. Don't at me.
No, that's true too.
Okay. So this talent agency tries to make you into Lloyd, and you were like, no. And then you were with them for about 2 years, and then
I was with them for
happened?
2 years, and then as soon as a couple of months before I graduated from university, I moved out of my parents' house against their will. I moved in with a couple of friends of mine. And so I told my parents the moment I started acting that after I graduated, I'm moving to LA. I'm getting out of San Antonio. And they were like, okay, dig thing, we'll see. And I was like, no, yeah, you'll see, watch. And so when I graduated, I still had 9 months on my lease because I had just moved out. So they were like, see, you're not going anywhere. and I was like, no, watch. When my lease ends, I'm leaving. And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll see. So then my lease ended, and I packed up my apartment, put everything into my car, went home for 2 weeks, didn't unpack my car, and then came to LA. And I knew 4 guys in San Antonio that I had just met months before moving out here that were moving to LA around the same time that I was. So all 5 of us roomed together. We found a 3-bedroom apartment, and we moved into this apartment together. And my parents didn't really understand it at the time, but they knew what I wanted to do. And they were like, all right, you can come back home whenever you want. Let's see what happens. And so I saved up a couple grand, moved out here. Worked odd jobs the first year, and then I started working at Nordstrom. I worked there for almost 2 years, and then I started thinking, like, dude, I didn't come to LA to work in retail. I could have done this shit at home. And all the whole way, I'm like trying to find an agent, trying to go on auditions, just figuring it out, because there is no right or wrong way to do anything in this industry as an actor. There are just a million different ways, and you just have to choose one, or choose all of them, and some of them might work and some of them might not. But anyways, I found an agent, a commercial agent, and I started going on a ton of commercial auditions. This was in 2015, 3 years after I moved here.
So how did you choose, like you're saying there's like a bunch of different ways to do it. Like, how did you choose your way?
I honestly can say now that I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just, throwing darts and seeing what would land. What I did is there's a website called LA Casting. And what I did was they have a directory of talent agents and managers and, representatives, whatever. And so it's all in alphabetical order. And I just cold emailed like 100 agents for representation. And then I got maybe 1 or 2 responses and then to go in for a meeting. And so I went in for meetings, and none of them signed me. That's just how it was. And then and I went to this comedy show that my friend was having, and there was an agent in the audience that was his friend. He introduced me to him, and then that guy signed me to his roster. And I was with him for a year, but that didn't go anywhere. He sent me on like 6 auditions. It's really hard to get an agent out here if you're new. But then I did this thing. I grew a beard. And then I dropped that agent. I cold emailed another 7 agents from that list. 3 out of those 7 reached back out to me. I met with 3 of them. I signed with one of them. I was with them for 4.5 years. I just left that agency in November.
Just to interrupt for a second, when you say you grew a beard, you grew like a glorious beard, like not just any beard. This is a beard that probably should have its own Instagram account. This is this is a beard.
I didn't know I could do it until I did it. It honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it changed my life.
Wow.
That's bold, man. I'm it's quarantine time. I feel like this is my moment too to try the long beard game. But
and I'm over here thinking about shaving it, and you're over there trying to grow it out.
We're all about experimenting during quarantine. So hey,
what would happen to your life if you shaved it?
I mean, we'll see. I haven't shaved. I haven't shaved since I want to say January 18th, 2014.
Very specific date.
I like how you started that off with "I want to say," as if you were going to give a broad range, and then you gave us an exact date and time.
I can actually like verify.
Because of your photo project, yeah.
Exactly,
and we'll get into that. We want to talk about that, but yeah, no. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your journey.
No,
there,
you're good.
Keep going.
So then, sorry, I'm verifying right now. Okay, yeah. So then I got new agents. I started going out on auditions, and I used to do this thing, right, where I would, on holidays, I would decorate my beard, take a photo, and post it on Instagram. And every time I did that, like my Instagram would blow up. I'd get like 1,000 likes, like 2,000 whatever likes on those photos. And then someone at BuzzFeed like messaged me, on like early November, right, and saying that they wanted to do an article or a listicle on my beard decoration photos for No Shade November. I didn't see that DM until November 28th.
No,
this is what happens when you're too popular, man.
I just didn't know about the others folder at that time.
Oh, okay.
And
a whole new world.
I discovered that folder, and I saw that DM, and then I messaged her back, and I was like, "Oh my God, I just saw this," and she responded right away. She's like, "Hey, there's still 2 days in November left. I can do this right now if like you give me permission or whatever." And I was like, yeah, ask me questions or whatever you got to do. And so she asked me a series of questions. She sent me an email. I was visiting my home in San Antonio at this time because it was my what was it? Oh, it was my niece's birthday party. It was my birthday, and it was my 10-year high school reunion that I wasn't going to go to until this article came out and it went viral. And then I was like, "Oh yeah, now I can go tomorrow."
The ultimate flex, love it.
Yeah. So then I went to my high school reunion, and people were like, "Oh shit, I just saw you on BuzzFeed today," and I was like, "Yeah, that was me. I'm doing things with my life."
Just have it open on your phone casually.
Yeah, right. So then, and then I went back to LA a couple of days later. And the day I landed, I had an audition. And so it was a callback. And so I went in to the callback. And in the middle of my audition, the casting associate, who is like the person behind the camera, not the casting director, he stops my audition and he's like, wait a second, are you viral right now? And I was like, yeah, BuzzFeed beer thing, whatever. And then he's like, he turns around and looks at the casting director and like the director and the producers of the commercial. And he's like, this guy's viral right now. Go check this out. And then they're like, oh yeah, show us. So then they made me pull up my article. And there's like 4 other guys in the audition, like with me, that are just kind of standing there waiting.
Oh God.
So I pull up this thing and I go in, like, up to them, and I'm showing them this article, and they're like, "Oh, neat! That's so interesting, so cool." and then I left. They're like, "Yeah, all right, thank you so much." So then I left, and I called my agent right away, and I was like, "Yo, I think I booked this." And then she called me 20 minutes later, and she's like, "Yeah, you booked it."
Nice.
That was my first commercial. And
what was it for? Do you remember?
Interestingly, it was for a beer. It was for Shock. So my parents were like, huh? A what? And I was like, yeah, but, money. And they're like, I guess. That was, up till this date, the biggest paycheck of my life.
Wow.
Wow. Damn. Yeah. All of the beer money.
So, yeah, beer.
It all is.
Yeah.
So I want to I want to go back because like we kind of touched on this briefly, but like in an interview with Brown Girl magazine that you did, you mentioned that you have to make your own opportunities and you can't wait for things to just happen. And so you kind of mentioned how you did this with like emailing, agents and stuff like that. But like it's a 2-parter. So number 1 is like, what else did you do that you feel like, you put in the work and the time? And number 2, how much of your current success and, inshallah, future success do you think is based on like what you did and how much is based on luck?
Well, okay, let's see. That Brown Girl magazine interview, I believe, was 2 years ago. I'm trying to think what's changed in the past 2 years, or what have I done in the past 2 years? Okay, well, there's like the Get Brown, right? The Get Brown is it's the first South Asian UCB sketch show at the UCB Theater, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but it is like a huge, one of the biggest, most like prestigious improv and sketch theaters
in the world. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so we're the first all brown sketch team at the theater. And you really, back to the Brown Girl interview, you really have to, you can't wait for opportunity to come to you. You have to write your own shit. You have to like find your crew, your group, and you gotta like create together, and you have to show your work. Because if you don't show your work, nobody's gonna know you're doing work, and nobody's gonna know you exist to want to work with you. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, luck is there. Luck is there, but you have to really produce your own luck by collaborating and finding the people you work best with. This isn't the first group I've worked together with. I've worked with other groups, and not all of them were all South Asian, and not all groups work. Egos are a big thing in this industry, and you have to want to win as a group. It's just the odds aren't in our favor to do this on our own, unless you're like a Hassan Minhaj, or a Riz Ahmed. And those guys are a different level of amazing.
So it sounds like what you're saying is like your chances of success as like a person of color generally kind of depend on cooperating with other people. And so that's really interesting because you would think that the mentality would be more so that there's like competition among those people for very specific, very limited roles or opportunities. So like, can you expand a little more on that? Like how come it's wonderful, but like how come to you it's become a thing about cooperation versus competition?
I used to also feel that way about competition, right? I remember whenever I used to see other Desi guys at auditions, I used to always be like, oh shit, like, you know, it's one of us that's going to get this or whatever. But I left that way of thinking behind probably a couple years ago. I get just as happy when I see one of my friends on TV than when I see myself. You know, for me, it's like it's a win for the culture. It's a win for all of us because the more I see more Desi people at auditions, I think the industry is beginning to understand that, hey, there's a lot of these people out there. There's not just the
over
token.
1 billion of us.
Yeah, quite literally. And also, like, I think they're seeing that we're not taking this shit anymore. You know, if you're not going to make it for us, we're just going to make it ourselves, and we're going to make it better than you could make it for us.
Are you seeing that is starting to become offered more in terms of complex characters for visible, you know, South Asian actors or Muslim actors, or is it still fighting an uphill battle?
I think it's still fighting an uphill battle, but I think there is like this like microscopic view of it getting better, you know, of more opportunities coming in. Like I recently auditioned for I don't know if I can say it.
What you can say, and then we can bleep it afterwards if you want.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just auditioned for. Okay, yeah, bleep it out.
Yeah.
But for.
Oh, nice.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and so when I see things like that coming into my inbox, then that's when I realize, like, okay, there are people trying. You know, there are people at the top that are, you know, that want to give these opportunities. That role was written for a reason, and they're making it for a reason. And I know people in the writers' room of that show. And then, you know, on top of that, there are people like Samir Gardezi. Do you guys know Samir?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this guy's making waves, man. He's like executive producing, you know, a limited series like East of La Brea. There are people that are not shutting up, and those are the kind of people we need.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and we need more and more people like that and like yourself who are trying to create stories that are authentic in that way and complex characters, as you mentioned, right? So no, that's awesome to see. But I'm wondering as well, something that, you know, we've talked about briefly in the past about how the Muslim community in Hollywood is one where you've been trying to mobilize and organize over the last little while. How have you seen that group of creatives come together over the past few years, and where do you think there is an opportunity for it to continue to grow?
Okay, so I think they see people want to work together, right? That thing of competition still exists. I think that's something we need to work on. The problem that I'm having right now is I've been working on this thing that I've told you about, Seiko.
Nobody heard the backstory of that. It's going to be a pretty hilarious random tidbit. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah. So I kind of want to do something similar to the Mosquers in LA, where I want to have like a mini film festival, like with just like 5 shorts or I don't know, something like that. I've been working with my people, and we want to eventually do like this incubator thing where we select a written short film and then produce it by us. You know, what I'm having a hard time doing is getting not just South Asian Muslims, but like all Muslims of all walks of life to come together. What I'm feeling lately is because, we might follow the same faith, but culturally we're different. You know, I'm Pakistani, right? So lately I've been battling with this thing. Like, who do I relate more to? Do I relate more to like Hindu people or Indian people, or do I relate more to like Saudi Muslims? Because I can speak the same language as one of them, but I stand next to the other one in prayer. Uh, who do I don't know who to relate more to. I relate so much to both of them in completely different ways.
Right.
And I don't know if I think I've gone way far from your question.
No. That's no. Honestly, that is part of the question, right? I mean, it is a matter of bringing people together who share a faith, but might not share much else beyond that from a cultural standpoint. But recognizing that there's very specific challenges and opportunities and just perspectives that shape their narratives that require storytelling. And that's one of the big reasons why the Mosquers, for us anyway, is such an important initiative, because there are very few opportunities for people to come together and share those stories that are based around influence of faith, not necessarily in terms of subject matter, but certainly in terms of life experience, right? And I think that's what we all struggle with is, how do we bring a diverse group of people together in the room that do have this commonality, but are maybe not necessarily in our immediate circles, because we tend to fall within cultural circles a lot of times rather
Yeah,
than faith-based circles. So it's a struggle, man. And it took us 14 years to get to the level of diversity that we've been able to get to so far with the Mosquers, and we're still not even close to where we want to be. So
Yeah.
it's definitely something that we're always thinking about as well.
And
yeah,
making sure that
totally.
we're not trying to, like, as a group who, is like a showcasing all this Muslim talent, like trying to make sure that we're not saying that like these are the only Muslim stories that exist, which I think we as Sikandar said, do a really good job of. But I think, yeah, like there's definitely like way more representation that we need in terms of like filmmakers and like people attending and everything to make sure that, that we're showcasing that diversity as per our mission statement.
Totally, yeah.
But are you finding that, like, from a ability to draw upon resources and push people in constructive manner, and be able to call upon people, is there that network of Muslim creatives, or is that something that's yet to be built in Hollywood?
I think it's yet to be built. I think
Yeah.
there's like there's a smudge of it. There's a few Muslim people out here that want to work together. Otherwise, a lot of them are kind of still like, no, I'm just doing my own thing. I got this. I'm doing my own thing, whatever. And then there are the few that do want to work together, but each of those few people want to do their own thing of bringing people together. People aren't falling in line with other people's ideas, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to talk about anybody, but I'll talk about an organization. so, so, okay, I have nothing against MPAC, right? They're doing their thing. They're great. But when I...
Wait, sorry. Say against who?
MPAC?
What does that stand for?
MPAC is Muslim Public Affairs Council.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so they have an MPAC Hollywood division, right? And I went to one of the board members with this thing that I want to do, this independent film festival, whatever, and they were kind of like, "Oh, yeah, no, thank you. We're gonna do our own like that." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, then do it," And then like I would love to be involved or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, no, it's okay, we got this." So it's like, there's like people that do want to do things like this, but they don't want to do it with the other people that want to do things like this.
So, which is why you should just do what you're doing with us here in Edmonton for the Mosquers, and we'll just make this just that much bigger and better, man. Like, perfect. solution right there, right?
Yeah.
Man.
No, for sure. No, but I hear you completely. And honestly, like that's one of the things that it's unfortunate because we should really be, it goes back to even what we were talking about earlier as it relates to competing versus collaborating with people who are going up against each other for the same roles, right? If we're not uplifting other people, even if it's, at the detriment of your own ego to a certain degree, then we're not collectively creating more opportunities for each other, right? And you and I talked about this in the past. Like there's more than enough room for more than one festival that's dedicated towards showcasing Muslim talent. So it's as much our success as it is your success to see the Mosquers flourish, to see your festival flourish, and so on and so forth.
In my opinion, there should intentionally be several.
Agreed.
Because the more we hear about it, the bigger each of them are going to get. It's only helping us. It's only, doing a service to the culture of this industry, the culture of Muslims within this industry.
Yeah, no, completely agreed. And I think there's a lot of, unfortunately, there's a lot of ego that sometimes gets in the way. And I think as we find opportunities to be more collaborative and more supportive of each other, I think there's going to be more doors that open collectively, right? So I think that opportunity is there. We just gotta go take it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, people just have to kind of, want it a little more, because
sorry, I didn't mean to interject, but something that I just remember that you talked about this in the past with me about how in Hollywood there's a specific, because we were talking about why in Edmonton we've been able to get this incredible buy-in from our local community, right? Like from people who want to join the board and really be a part of the Mosquers, and we've got 27, 28 people here who are super passionate about trying to make a difference. And you were saying that in LA it's a little bit more challenging to find people because in a lot of cases creativity and this creative endeavor is their career, and they want to make sure that they're spending every opportunity possible to advance their career from like a ability to live off of this perspective. Whereas here in Edmonton, it might be more of a creative outlet for people. And I think they're a lot more willing to give themselves towards an endeavor that is, very unique. Whereas in LA, there might be 1,000 different initiatives going on at the same time, which makes it more challenging. So,
right.
It's it can't be easy, man. But you're fighting the good fight.
Everyone out here is, a transplant, really.
Yeah.
I don't think I know any, Muslim people that are in this industry that are from here. So it's really hard to.
Well, Sahar grew up in LA, but like Sahar Jahani, who we had
that's true,
a couple weeks, but not many. Your point is well taken. Not many.
Right. Not enough to really make a move over here, like have a movement.
Right. Of homegrown talent. Yeah. No, you're right. But I mean, but like transplants, sometimes it creates a situation where because you aren't, you don't have your family there, you tend to gravitate towards that circle of creative friends. Right. But it could go the other way, I guess, as well.
Yeah. I feel like that's what we've found in the Get Brown. Before this quarantine, we would spend a lot of time together. We, have our regular, Monday scheduled meetings. And then other than that, we'd have rehearsals. We'd have just like separate writing meetings. We like to spend as much time together as we can because we know the more time we spend together, the more we'll have something to show from it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about the Get Brown. Like, what was the inspiration behind it? Why was that a project that you guys felt you needed to get made? And what was the process of getting that on UCV, which, as you mentioned, is not an easy task whatsoever?
Right. So I actually signed up for a UCB class 2 weeks before I moved to LA. So that right when I moved here, I had something to do. I had like a class to go to or whatever, right? So that was in 2012. I took my first class over there, and I've been taking classes there since then. So like, I've become like ingrained in the community, and one of my best friends out here, Sean Begg, is my co-host on the podcast that we have called the Bollywood Boys, and we've been doing that for 3 years. And about 6 months into it, Sean told me one of his dreams was to have a like all South Asian sketch team. So then I was like, let's do it. We know enough people at the theater, enough like brown people, to where we could put a team together and see where it goes, whatever, right? So then Sean emailed the people that he knew, I emailed the people that I knew, and we got us on one thread, and we were like, hey, Sean sent an email, and I was like, hey, this is what I want to do, blah, 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 blah. Can we do this? Are you guys down? And 6 out of the 7 people were like, yeah, let's do it. And so what UCB does is you have to submit like a spank. It's called a spank show, which is short for brand spanking new. And so you have to submit a 30-minute script.
Thank you for clarifying, by the way.
Yeah, this has really gotten weird.
Yeah, most people are like, huh? A what? So yeah, we submitted our 30-minute show to the artistic director of the theater. And then they either give you a slot or they say thanks. And so they gave us a 30-minute slot. And then from there...
What year was that?
This was in 2017.
Okay, awesome.
Or 2018. One of them. Yeah. And then... so we got our 30-minute slot, and then we got notes on that. And that slot is more of an audition than a show. But you can sell tickets, you can try to build your audience, whatever. So we knew that, like, if we were white, we would have gotten a run immediately. But because we're not white, the artistic director is not going to get a lot of our jokes. So we really need to pack the house. And so that's what we did. We focused on, not only on the show and punching it up as best as we could, but also selling out the show. So it's an hour slot, but we get 30 minutes and we share the hour with another team. And spank shows never sell out. There's always like 10 people in the audience, but we filled like the 120 seats, right? Nice. And so she saw that and gave us notes on our show and gave us a callback slot, basically. So we did that, and we were like, we got to sell this one out too, right? Because it just makes us look good if we sell the show out, and everybody loves our shit. So we sold that show out too, and then we got a 3-month run after that. Nice. And then after that 3 months, and we sold out every single one of those shows. We asked for another 3 months, and then we just keep kind of extending it until we got tired of that show. And then, we did another like spank slot, and then another workout slot or a callback slot. And so we've had a monthly show for the past 2.5 years, 2 years or something like that.
That's awesome.
And we have sold out every single show since then.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we put together like a 15 minutes like presentation for our show and sent it to a bunch of production companies. And so right now we're in the process of trying to get a show on a streaming platform, a season of a sketch show.
That's wicked.
Incredible. Yeah, that would be amazing. So what drew you towards improv and long form sketch comedy? Like, is that something that you've always been pretty passionate about, or was that something that, you knew, okay, I'm moving to LA, UCB is one of the top programs, I just want to get into it?
So I didn't even hear about UCB until maybe, I think it was like after I started acting.
Okay.
Because then what I started doing was I started like Googling my favorites, like actors and like TV show actors, really, not like film stars, but like people in shows like The Office and Community. Community that is the show that really got me hooked on acting and comedy and sketch and improv.
Really? Who's your favorite actor on that? Who character, I should say?
I mean, Troy and Abed.
Yes, in the morning.
Yeah, Troy and Abed in the morning.
So good.
Yeah, I did all my research on those guys at that time, and I was like, yeah, what did they do? How did they get into this? And I saw that Danny Pudi, who plays Abed, trained at Second City, and Donald Glover trained at UCB, and so I was like, okay, how do I train there? Where is this UCB? And so I looked up UCB, and I saw they had him in New York and LA. And I remember there was a summer after I started acting where I was like, I think I'm going to try to spend a summer in LA and just take classes at UCB and then, come back. And that just doesn't make sense. If you want to be a part of the community, you really have to gusjao in the community.
Yeah, dive in. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I moved here, I did that. I spent so much time at that theater, so much time to where I don't know if you guys know or have heard of Derek Comedy.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I know those guys now.
Oh wow.
Which blows my mind, my 10 years ago Saagar's mind.
Including Gambino? What are we talking about?
I've met him a few times,
okay,
but
What?
But he doesn't know me.
No. Don't say that. Don't say that. I'm sure he knows your beard and has noticed you. And
I didn't. The last time I met him, I've met him a few times. The last time I met him, I didn't have a beard, so that's how it's been.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but I went to his show last year, and I could have sworn he was making eye contact with me for an extremely long time.
That counts. Counts. I feel like we're 1 degree removed from interviewing Donald Glover, so this is basically like interviewing Donald Glover.
Yep, basically.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was a point in my life in his career that I was his biggest fan.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, there's a lot to be a fan of, for sure.
He's a very multifaceted, multi-talented person, for sure.
I know, yeah.
So you mentioned the Bollywood Boys as well. What's the story behind that?
So, yeah, we were just sitting in a car one day listening to old Bollywood songs, and specifically, that song, "Oh Jana Jana."
Yes.
Yeah, that song. So we were listening to that, and then we started listening to this next song and this next song, and we all know the words to all of these songs, and then we were just like, "Yo, we should start a podcast called Bollywood Boys," and then we just did it. And
this is you and your friend Sean, or
me and Sean, yeah.
Okay, who I've also had a chance to briefly meet, and who's an incredibly talented improviser as well.
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah.
Actually, Sean hates to be called an improviser. He loves to be called a performer, a sketch performer. Yeah.
My mistake. I've gotten into shit for that before, so I will not make that mistake twice.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I called. Do you know who Brother Ali is?
I do. Yeah.
So we had him for the Mosquers a couple of years ago, and I'm the biggest Brother Ali fan in the world. And I did a pre-interview with him, and I called him an entertainer, and he literally stopped me, and he's like, "Excuse me, I'm not an entertainer, I'm an artist." And I'm like, "Oh, my bad, man." So this is that moment all over again with Sean.
Yeah.
But regardless,
for me, it's the opposite. I don't do you ever get imposter syndrome?
Yes.
What
is this?
No. Yeah, all the time.
When people call me an artist, I get really weird about that because I don't think I'm an artist. I don't think I'm I just don't believe that I'm an artist. An entertainer, sure, I can entertain people. Yeah, I think I'm funny in some of the things I say. In our podcast, we have a good back and forth. An artist, I don't know. I don't know if I'm an artist.
Yeah, fair. I think we need to have everyone who comes on here submit a list. What can we call you?
Yeah, right?
Terms you feel comfortable with, yeah. How do you like to be described?
Referred to, yeah.
But with Bollywood Boys, I I just did a little bit of research on how to start a podcast, and we got all the equipment we needed, and then I learned how to edit the audio, and we just started recording episodes, watching a movie, recording an episode, watching a movie, recording an episode.
Like a review type thing?
It is, but I guess it's like ranting, raving, reviewing. We talk about like if it could get made today. We talk about the lack of political correctness in them. We talk about classic Bollywood tropes. We talk about toxic masculinity within Bollywood films.
That's like so interesting because I was watching Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham yesterday or the day before, and I like Shah Rukh Khan and Hrithik Roshan are crying like constantly in that movie.
Yeah,
and I was like, this is actually like because I was thinking about that, watching it through woker eyes now, where I was like, yeah, like that's really interesting. Like I feel like I don't know that a lot of the Bollywood movies, like they're so problematic in so many ways, but like I think
so problematic.
Like allowing men to have feelings is one thing they do quite well, I think.
Surprisingly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It was interesting.
Because K3G, I actually just watched it too, like 3 days ago.
Netflix. Thank you.
I know, man. I just saw in the past 5 days. I saw K3G, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai.
Shut up, me too. I compared the running scenes. I was like, which one is the better Shah Rukh running scene? I think it's Kuch Kuch, personally.
For sure, it's Kuch Kuch.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a 50-50 split on my Instagram.
I will say that K3G made me cry 8 times, and Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham made me cry twice.
That is the same movie you just said.
I'm sorry, and Kuch Kuch Hota Hai made me cry twice.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
8 times. I mean, it is like 4 hours long, so that's
got me. It got me good.
I got to rewatch these movies. I was like a child when I watched these.
There's all of the movies are on Netflix now, man. They're all available at your fingertips.
Yeah. I guess.
Yep.
And so we've been doing that for 3 years, and we're kind of trying to segue into something else. Like kind of, the thing about podcasts is like if you want to start a new podcast, you can't just change your podcast. You have to stop doing that podcast and start a new podcast.
Right.
So I think, it's just a lot of work to watch a whole 3-hour movie and then record an episode for an hour long and then edit it for another hour and a half. It's a lot of work, spending like 8 hours to do one episode. So we kind of don't want to do it anymore.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What are you going to do for your last one?
Well, we haven't even decided on a last one yet. There's still like 10 movies that we want to do that we haven't done. Because like we were saving the best for last, right? Obviously, DDLJ will be the last one.
All right. Nice. Good choice.
All right. And so, there's a lot of movies that we still haven't done that we want to do. But what we want to do afterwards is kind of do a like, an unqualified like mental health conversation, where like people can send us their questions or talk about their brown problems, and we can just talk about, obviously we are not qualified to talk about these things, but we want to make that very clear that you are asking us. This is going to be probably not the best advice, but like advice from other brown people that have probably gone through similar things.
I would listen to that so bad. I would definitely listen to that for sure.
Just send in all the questions.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, nothing is serious. Don't listen to us or listen to us. Do whatever you want to do. It's super.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Sorry, go for it.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna just ask. So, like, is that like why, like, mental health specifically, just because it's like not something that's talked about in the community, or is there
absolutely
another reason?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's just not pushed hard enough. We should be able to express how we're feeling when we're feeling it, whatever.
If you want to bust into song.
Bust in a song, yeah. Like parents, our generation's parents, the immigrant generation, I feel like there's a lot that gets lost in translation between us and them. And so, I just want to have a platform where people can talk about things like that, or they can find that relatability, like, yeah, I went through that too, or this is how I handled it, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I mean, I just think it'll be kind of cathartic.
Yeah.
For people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Oh, I think I think that's definitely something that, it kind of reminds me of why I feel so passionately about what you guys are doing, right? In terms of creative endeavors within mainstream Hollywood and media in general, because I think the more we can try to put ourselves out there in that sort of way, more we can showcase stories of diversity and creativity, the more normal it becomes, right? And it just goes to show that like that doesn't just happen in terms of like representation, but it happens in terms of the subject matter and the topics that we cover, right? We're starting to see that with like, shows that are being made now that have very specific challenges that are being faced within sort of the Muslim or the South Asian context or the Arab context or what have you. So props to you, man. I think that's a really cool concept for a podcast, Unqualified Therapy Sessions.
Yeah. I mean, it's a working title.
Yeah. But that's awesome. So listen, but we're hitting close to an hour. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure I talk to you about. First of all, I want to give you a huge congratulations for recently being cast in and performed in the highly selective 2019 ABC Showcase. So big props to that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about what that entire process was like? And maybe for those who aren't as familiar, can you talk to us a little bit about what the ABC Showcase is?
Absolutely, yeah. So there are the big three networks, CBS, NBC, and ABC. And each of them has their own showcase, like a Discovers program. A diversity program is the word they're trying to stay away from. But essentially that's what it is. And so I don't know what the other processes are like, but the ABC Showcase process is truly like one of the most stressful 3 months of my life. But what it is basically is you have a scene that you perform in front of 500 industry executives, writers, directors, producers, casting directors, agents, managers. Just like there's a auditorium of like 400 or 500 seats, something like that, and it's all full of important people, and you get to do your scene in front of them, and only.
Is this a scene that you select, or is it like one that they give you? Or
everything is selected for you.
Gotcha.
And the scene selection process is the only people I can relate to on this are the people that were in my showcase. Really, it's like 8 hours a day for like 2.5 months of getting like 10 scenes, 10 different characters with 10 different scene partners that you have like 5 minutes to study and cold read in front of 20 ABC executives. And then so I'm just going to start from the first audition. Okay. So the first audition for this ABC Showcase, you go in and there's just a bunch of people there. They give you a scene 2 nights before that you study, and you go in and you read it to 2 people and a camera. And then you either get a note or you don't. And then they say, okay, thank you. And you leave, and you hope to get a call back. Wow. And if you get a call back, that's great. Half of the people got a call back. And so you go in and you do the same thing. You do the same thing in front of a camera, and you either get a direction and you do the scene again or you don't. And then at the end of it, they'll say, okay, thank you. And you leave.
And this is like hundreds of people are coming from the start, or is like pre.
They have 15,000 submissions a year.
Holy smokes!
Wow!
And then they call in 2,500 people to audition, and then only 15 or 16 people get it.
So this is basically like American Idol for acting.
Yeah, I guess it's non-televised, but yeah, it's like a private American Idol.
Yeah, amazing, incredible. Okay, sorry, keep going. So first callback, second callback.
Yeah, and then if you get another callback, you go through this thing called a mix and match, which is they invite 40 people a day to a mix and match. So I would say out of the 1,000-something people that got a callback, maybe 300 people, something like that, get invited to mix and match. And they have a mix and match. What is it? Maybe like 200 people get invited. I imagine they do 5 mix and matches in 1 week, and every one of those 5 days has 40 different people. And so at the mix and match, you get 2 scene partners and 2 scenes at the beginning of the day. And there's 2 halves of the day. The first half, there's 3 directors, and you do your cold read with your stranger scene partner in front of them, and then they say, okay, thank you. Or they'll say, this scene is not good for you, go get another one. Or they'll say, you guys aren't a good pair, find a new partner. Or go out there and someone will give you a new partner. And so you are getting a new scene and a new scene partner all day for 8 hours, maybe like 10 times a day. So you're just like, okay, I have to get into this new character now. Okay, now this character is like, doesn't feel like me, but I still have to do it because that's what they want. So I'll do it as best as I can. Mm. And you go in there and it's just not matching you, right? It's just something that is not for you. But they'll think it's for you. So they'll be like, okay, yeah, you keep this one and you're going to perform this one at the end of the day in front of all 20 executives. So, and everybody gets 2 scenes and 2 scene partners. So then you're switching, doing those scenes. You have 5 minutes at a time. I can't even explain it to you without like stepping on my own tongue, or if I don't even know if that's a thing. But I feel like that's what I'm doing right now.
No, this is exhilarating.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild. And then so that's then, right? And you don't know if you get called back for the mix and match until the night before the next mix and match. So then at I think the next 4 days later, I get an email like at 10 p.m. saying, hey, you've been invited to the next mix and match. Call time is 8 a.m. So I'm like, I got to be there tomorrow at 8 a.m., whatever, right? So last year I did the same thing, except I got to the final round and then I didn't make it. But I also had a job last year, and I don't think that I would have been able to do this had I had a job this year. I happened to not have a job at this time this year, and I made it. And it was really good that I didn't have a job because I would have not been able to get through this whole process with a job. Mm-hmm. So then there are 3 mix and match days where there's like 40 people mixing and matching with, going inside with the directors and then doing it all over again with 20 casting execs at ABC. And then last year there was 3 mix and match days. This year there was 2. And on the 3rd day, they pretended like it was a mix and match day, but there was only 16 of us. And then 40 minutes into us going through scenes, they called us all in the room and they were like, hey guys, surprise, you guys made it. So then all 16 of us, for the next 3 months, we did our scene selection, which was a lot like mix and match, except we couldn't get cut.
Oh, wow. Okay. And is it just like training, or what is the intention behind it?
So the first week is like training. But the next 2 months, 2.5 months or so is just scene selection. But I can honestly tell you that there was no better training that I've ever gotten in my life than I did during the scene selection process. I just got so good at jumping into a character, you know, because I only have 5 minutes. I just got this 10-page script, and I have 5 minutes to go in there and perform it in front of 20 ABC casting executives that cast shows like Modern Family and, you know, Fresh Off the Boat, and like just these great shows that have been going on for seasons and seasons and seasons. These people have been behind them. And yeah, you know, as hard as it was, as stressful as it was, I wouldn't trade it for anything other than like $1 million. I would trade it.
That's the price. That's your price.
That's the price.
So, and also, like, we also just quickly, because it is getting long, but like we wanted to talk to you about your web series, Unfair and Ugly. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, you know, it was a thing that I did.
Should we leave it at that, or what?
Yeah, we could leave it at that. I mean, okay, it's a fun thing, right? It's a fun thing. Check it out on YouTube. You know, it's a fun story about you know, Sana and her brother Haris, just having, you know, the difficult time that we do with their parents, and their parents not really understanding what they want to do with their lives, or the day-to-day of a American-born Muslim person. Yeah, that's what I'll say about it.
That's a solid teaser. That's
intrigue.
And speaking of projects that you've been working on, we have to talk about this. You, on your Facebook page, you probably put it elsewhere as well, but that's where I saw it, recently uploaded a video of a photo project you've been working on for over 10 years.
Yeah.
Where you took a photo of your face every single day for 10 years.
Yeah.
First of all, that was incredible to watch, because the amount of hairstyles and beard grooming tips that I took from that were amazing. And second of all, what motivated you to do this? It was awesome to see.
So thank you. Yeah. So like a little over 10 years ago, I saw a project like this. I saw someone do this project.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw the final product of it, right? And I was like, dude, that's so cool. Did he really do it for 10 years? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing this right now. And in 10 years, I'm going to release a video like this too. So I took a camera from my brother. It was just like a digital, you know, Sony camera that was laying around the house. And I took it and I used that one. And I've used that camera for 10 years, every day, once a day for 10 years. It's like this old ass 12 megapixel camera. But yeah, there were so many times in the 10 years that I was like, dude, I'm sick of this. I don't want to do it anymore. You know, it feels like it's never going to come to an end. I'm never going to finish it. And then, you know, when I am done taking these pictures, I don't know how to edit this shit. Who's going to do that? Am I going to have to find someone? So these are the thoughts that I kept having over the course of the 10 years. And then, you know, December 7th, 2019 came, which was like 10 years after the first day that I took that picture. And I was like, well, here we are, 10 years.
Let's go to work.
Yeah. And then I was like, all right, I got to figure out how to put this shit together, because who else is going to do it? I'm not going to pay someone to do it. I got all the time in the world, you know? So, I just like Googled a bunch of shit. And then I asked one of my friends to help me, and he was able to answer any question that I had. He's also an incredible filmmaker. Shout out to Khayyam Khan. He's incredible. And so he just kind of walked me through like the first like 50 pictures, right? And then I took it home with me, and individually, all 3,600 something photos, I had to manually like align.
Oh man!
But doing that was a journey on its own that only I could have gone through.
Yeah. How long did it take
to edit it?
Yeah.
It took me a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks of, maybe, honestly, if I did it all at once, I probably could have done it in 2 or 3 days.
But like, I'm assuming there's probably a pretty, that's probably a pretty emotional journey to like edit that 10
Sure.
years later, looking back at those photos. What was that like? Was it very retrospective? Did you learn anything about yourself? Like how, or was it just like, okay, this is a grind. Like I just got to put these photos together for this project.
It was crazy. Like I have documentation. I have receipts of every haircut, every time I shaved, every time I wore the same shirt 3 days in a row.
Exact day you started growing your beard.
Exactly that. Why I wore what I wore on certain days. I remember people who were in my life at that time, and I remember why they're not in my life anymore. It really was a reminder that people are like seasons. I remember how thick my eyebrows used to be and how they're not as thick anymore. I can see every time my face gains weight and loses it, and why I was gaining weight and why I was losing weight. I remember those instances and what I was going through in my life that why I was gaining, losing all that weight. I can literally see the youthfulness leaving my body one picture at a time.
Whoa.
I put 10 years into 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. I will say, as someone who has only gotten to know you more recently, it was still such an incredible thing to see, right? Like, because you can almost sense, even though you've kept a pretty neutral expression throughout all the photos, which I'm assuming was fairly intentional, you can still see through just kind of subtle nuances the difference in expression from one photo to the next. So it was a really, really cool project to see come to life.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah. It's I'm really glad that I followed through with it.
So where can we find it?
So I posted it on my Facebook, but I haven't shared a Facebook video. I just shared a YouTube link. That's where I put it, and that's kind of where I want it to live. So you can find my channel on YouTube. You could just type in my name, Saagar Shaikh, and I'm sure it'll come up. But yeah, I titled it "Saagar Takes a Picture of Himself Every Day for 10 Years."
Very descriptive title.
Yeah. So if you're having trouble finding it, you're doing something wrong.
That's
amazing. Saagar, we're going to end with a few rapid fire fun questions. You down?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we're going to alternate so it doesn't get crazy. Okay, quick. First thing that comes to your mind, all right? Favorite flavor ice cream?
Pistachio almond.
Go.
White bread or brown bread?
White bread.
Favorite type of potato?
There's this medley pack that I get. They're middle, these small size potatoes. And it's a medley.
I think we meant style of eating. Fries or mashed or scalloped, but breed of potato works too.
No, medley. Medley is the right answer for sure.
Yeah, a medley.
Little potato medley.
Medley. Yeah, no one's ever asked me what type of potato do you like.
That's my favorite question to ask people. Why does nobody? I can't believe people haven't heard that before.
Yeah, but
there's so many options.
I'm gonna keep my answer to medley, but I'm gonna also add I like waffle fries.
Ooh, yeah, man. Nice. Okay, most rewatched movie.
Ooh, I gotta say K3G maybe. K3G or DDLJ.
Nice.
And last but not least, what is the most binge-worthy show on any streaming platform right now?
The Office, obviously.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, amazing.
It's the best movie in the world. It's the best show in the world.
I was they made it into a movie?
Yeah, hot take shake. Hot take shake. The Office is the best show on the planet.
Love it.
Wait, what about in comparison to Breaking Bad?
I mean, they're so different, right? But
I know, but you're saying best show.
Yeah, Okay, but I can watch The Office. I can watch the same episode 15 different times and enjoy it every time.
So
I can't say the same thing about Breaking Bad.
That's fair. I needed to take like breaks between episodes because it was stressing me out so much watching Breaking Bad. So that's fair. That's fair. There's some episodes I would not want to watch again.
Yeah, I mean, they're heavy.
Yeah, man.
Definitely.
The Office is lighthearted and easy.
That's true. That's true.
Very true. Saagar, thank you so much for doing this for us and with us. Where can people find you? What is your socials?
You can find me on Instagram at SAWGRRR. And I also just made a TikTok that I'll probably never use.
The youths.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm trying to be like Abu Bakr here. Yeah. Don't follow me on TikTok. Just follow me on Instagram.
Okay, I'm going to ask you for your TikTok later, though.
All right, cool.
Saagar, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay. Take
care.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, you can find us on all of the social media platforms by searching Mosquers Film Festival. Stay tuned next week for another episode.